Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Well, what a time we're living in now. If you look, the signs are there. Well, you can look everywhere and see signs. Coming here to work, coming here to services today, signs all over the roads telling you about different things. Signs that point to the direction that you're going, signs that tell you how to find things, signs that tell you to buy things, signs that tell you all kinds of things. And now there are a lot of people looking at what's going on in the world, and they say they're seeing signs, prophetic signs, signs of things from the Bible, signs that tell you you've got to listen to them because they've got the signs, and they're going to tell you how all the stuff that's going on are the signs that point to a specific event, something that we're all looking forward to, the return of Jesus Christ and the establishment of his kingdom and his rule here on the earth. Well, God is the one who gives the signs. Begin with, I'm going to turn to the beginning of the book. And in Genesis 1 and verse 14, it says this, "And God said, let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and for years." So God made things for signs. He put signs so that we can follow. One of the most specific things that we can follow is his holy days, because he tells us how to keep up with the times and the seasons through the signs that he's given us. Now, Jesus tells us about some things. If you want to think about when he's going to return, there's some stuff that Jesus tells us about. And everybody knows probably where I'm going with this, Matthew 24. It even says it in a little subheading here in my Bible. In Matthew 24, it says signs of the end of the age. So what does Jesus say here? He says lots of things about what will be occurring, things that will be happening. One of the things that he says, though, that we're trying to bring about right here today with the internet and with the messages that we preach here is one of the things that he says is Matthew 24, and it's verse 14. "And this gospel of the kingdom will be proclaimed throughout the whole world as a testimony to all nations, and then the end will come." Now we know he tells us about wars and rumors of wars, pestilence and disease and famine, and all those things. They're talked about. He talks about the tribulation, something being so bad that you've never seen anything like it. Well, what's happening in the world right now? The war is the thing that everybody's so excited or upset about. There is a war going on. Something has started over in Eastern Europe. And to me, it's so reminiscent of what happened in World War II, because we've got a tyrant over there, Putin, and he is flexing his muscles, and he's taking territory just like Hitler did before World War II, at the beginning of it. And for a long time, he was allowed to take over territory, Czechoslovakia and Austria, the other places that he went into and took control of. And finally it got too much. He started to attack Poland. And the next thing you know, the whole world's in a war, something called World War. Well, is that what's coming now? Are we about to see a world war? Because Putin doesn't seem to have any bounds of where he thinks he can take control of. And now, as the Allies in World War II drew a line between between Germany and Poland and said, if you go there, that's going to start the war. And sure enough, Hitler went there. Well, now we've kind of drawn a line because we've allowed the Baltic states to be part of NATO. And we've said that's where the line's drawn. And you know, the Baltic states used to be part of the Soviet Union. And I think that Putin is just sitting there licking his chops. He's thinking, we're going there next, and they won't stop us because he's seen how easy it is. And they're having an easy time of it in Ukraine. I don't know that Ukraine is anything that we should have been backing their government or anything, because they're like most other governments. They're not very righteous. But the one that's about to take them over there has no limits on what he wants. He wants control again, just like they used to have, just like the Soviet Union used to be. So where is that leading to? Is that leading to the return of Jesus Christ? Because it says there'll be wars, rumors of wars. There'll be the nations and the kingdoms will be against each other. It's going to be a terrible time. But that's not what he says. He tells us that we have to wait. We wait for what? Well, the signs are there, but more than signs, what I want you to think about today is, what should these signs, what effect should it have on us? Should we be panicking? Because I hear people panicking like crazy. They're all freaking out. It started with the pandemic and all that happened. All the ones who just knew this was the end time. And then the next thing you hear about, there's a volcano erupting and causing a tsunami. And now they're talking about the signs in the heaven. They've got a new telescope that's supposedly up in a satellite somewhere, and it's seeing things happening, supernovas that are going off that they've never been able to see before. Now they say one of them that you should be able to see pretty soon in the night sky, that you should, with the naked eye, you should be able to see where a supernova has happened. Are these the signs? Are those the things that we're looking for the return of Jesus Christ? I don't think so. I don't think that those are the things, the blood moon that they talk about, the red heifer that everybody brings up and talks about. If you're not familiar with that, you can look it up. But there are people who just know that those are the signs, and if you can see that and know that, then you'll know when Christ is going to return. But what did Jesus say? He said nobody, not even himself, knows when he's going to return, the hour and the day, except for the Father. So what do we got to do? Let's turn over to Peter and see something that he says about, I'm actually going to turn first to Hebrews in chapter 2, and we'll see, again, talking about where the signs come from. They're not things that just happen. But in Hebrews chapter 2, in verse 3, here's something that is written. How shall we escape if we neglect such a great salvation? It was declared at first by the Lord, and it was attested to by those of us who heard, while God also bore witness by signs and wonders and various miracles. Now, God gave those signs. It was attested to, it was spoken of, but God gave signs. And I think that he's giving signs now. I think that there are people who's having their minds opened up to his truth, because there's things special about his truth that if you don't know it, easily you're going to get swept up. Easily you're going to get caught up in the lies of the ones that are coming, that are against Christ, against his return. And they're going to have people believing because all these signs are going to be happening, especially the bad ones, the terrible ones, the wars and the pestilence and the destructive hurricanes and storms and all the things that are going to occur, all those things that are going to happen. And yet, what are we supposed to be doing? Well, over here, Peter tells us something about that. In 2 Peter chapter 3, and I'm going to start and read just some of the things that Peter talks about. Because there's people who's going to wonder. He says here in verse 4, they're going to hear us speaking about the return of Christ, and they're going to say, in verse 4, they will say, "Where is the promise of his coming? For ever since the fathers fell asleep, all these things are continuing as they were from the beginning of creation." They're going to say, "Signs? What signs?" They don't want to look at signs. You got those people who are grasping for signs and trying to figure it out. And you got those people that don't want to look at the signs and they don't care. But in verse 7 it says, "But by the same word the heavens and the earth that now exist are stored up for fire, being kept until the day of judgment and destruction of the ungodly." So there's a time coming where God's going to put an end to things, at least the bad things and the physical things. Those type of things are going to go away. In verse 10 it says, "But the day of the Lord will come like a thief, and then the heavens will pass away with a roar, and the heavenly bodies will be burned up and dissolved, and the earth and the works that are done in it will be exposed." So I think those signs are bigger than any of the signs that people are talking about, that they're saying, look for this for the return of Christ. But something here that Peter tells us we should be doing. In verse 11 it says, "Since all these things are thus to be dissolved, what sort of people ought you to be in lives of holiness and godliness?" So that should show us what these signs should be doing for us. It's a time to draw close to God. Because as I said, nobody knows the hour of the day. And these signs aren't going to tell you the hour of the day. What are the signs there for then? To me, they are there to encourage us to get close to God. Not just to read his word, because you can read it, you can learn it, you can know it. It says that the demons and Satan, they know the word, but they don't draw close to God. And that's what we have to do. These signs are signs that say, God's saying, come here, come close to me. Have a relationship with me. Talk to me and listen to me. That's what I feel those signs are there for. And that's what I want to encourage you to do. Let these signs point you to God. Draw close to him, and he'll see us through whatever comes.